Well, welcome to episode 1, series 4.
Feels like a long time.
It does. It actually does.
It really does.
Have you missed our dulcet tones over the airwaves into your eardrums? It is actually really good to be back, though. It's nice to be sitting. We're sitting at Gas Street staff offices in the loft. And when I said to Amy, we're going to be recording this at Gas Street in the loft, I think you pictured some snazzy little space.
I did.
That was cozy, warm, kind of artsy. Mm-hmm. It really is a loft. Yeah. It's a loft space with no insulation. It's January and we are freezing. Apparently you can actually see our breath as we're recording this.
But we've got some nice blankets.
I bought some blankets from home. I came prepared. Yeah. I'm also wearing my hand knitted scarf.
Yes.
And actually, Amy...
It's a very nice hand knitted scarf.
I've got a surprise for you.
Have you actually got me one?
Over Christmas, I decided to knit you a matching scarf.
Have you got it with you today?
Yes. I can never keep anything secret from Amy, so I'm just going to get it. One sec.
And I actually just said to you, can you make me a matching scarf?
If you're only listening to this, you won't be able to see, but I am handing over to Amy.
This isn't even staged.
It's
I
not
had
staged.
No idea. Oh my God.
We could be twins.
You're so kind.
I know. Do you know, I decided to knit something over Christmas to curb my scrolling instincts.
This is so good.
I'm so pleased you like it.
Oh my gosh. I'm like so chuffed.
Oh,
how do you put it on?
Like that. Well, it's very long, so you can sort of wrap it around your neck a few times. So look, now we're twinning.
I was a bit gel with your scarf.
Were you?
So good.
Oh, good. I was thinking I'm never going to keep this secret from Amy.
I was wondering why you've got a present.
Oh, it was for you.
Oh,
so there we go. If you're listening, you might just have... Well, I tell you what, we'll put a photo up on Instagram in our matching knitted scarves. No, it takes me so long to make them. But I am actually... Sorry, this is off that we are going to get into the word of the Lord.
Speed up.
But you know, I'm going to attempt to make a jumper. I've decided.
This is
our
really
housemate,
good.
Alice.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I've mentioned Alice before, possibly. She's awesome. She lives with us. Oh. And she came home from Christmas and her sister had knitted her a jumper. And I just was like, that's going to be my creative project for 2024.
I'm like majorly impressed.
Oh, I'm so happy you like it. So yeah. Anyway, it was, to be fair, it was to help me.
You might get some people on here who want you to.
Yeah, no, don't even begin that. There was just no chance. So,
yes,
back to series 4 in our matching scarves. Gosh, we're so sad. And do you know what? We put our heads together, didn't we, last year? And we're like, what are we going to do for series 4? And hopefully, I think a whole bunch of you have been tracking with us, which is wonderful. And we decided, we had a whole bunch of different ideas, but what we sort of tracked back to was, do you know what? There are still a whole bunch of women, named and unnamed,
so many,
in the Bible that we haven't covered. And so, very unoriginally, this new series is called More Women of the Story. Rach Wilson, who works with us on our communications, was like, really? Could you not come up with anything more original? We're like, if you can think of a better title, but no, it's More.
So many more.
So many more women of the story.
Yes.
And we're going to start with Miriam and the Midwives. And we're going to do this in 2 parts because we thought we'd be able to squish this into one episode, but actually there's so much in both that we're going to do Miriam and the Midwives part 1, and then episode 2 is going to be Miriam and the Midwives part 2. So stay tuned. And just to quickly say, sorry, I know there's been a lot of my voice and Amy has plenty of wonderful things to say, so I'm going to shut up. You're still getting over your new scarf.
Honestly, I really am.
Oh,
yeah.
So lovely.
We
we also have potentially some very exciting updates for the Orchard this year. New year, new plans. Yeah. So watch this space and we can't really say anything just yet, but we'll keep you posted.
Rachel's bursting.
I am a bit.
I'm trying to rein her in.
Yeah. Okay. And maybe, Amy, what about, you could say, like, what this podcast is about, because it might be that people might be joining this and they've not listened to anything else. What are we trying to do in this podcast except for inspire people to knit?
Yeah, very good. Well, we've been looking over at the women we did the New Testament, didn't we? And the Old Testament, and really looking at their stories and seeing how they are catalysts. Like God uses these women in profound ways through their bravery, obedience, devotion, whatever it is, to extend the kingdom, to extend and be part of his story. And so it's just been amazing to see how God has used these women in quite powerful ways and upside down ways, which we'll get onto later, looking at this story. So yeah, and there are just so many. And I keep reading the Bible and seeing, there's another woman that's not named, or there's another woman who is used to catalyze this breakthrough or this progression of the story. And they just need naming.
Yeah.
And
they need some airtime.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the challenge, isn't it? That often we skip over them because they don't often have many lines, or they might feature like in literally a couple of verses or like a chapter.
Yeah.
And it's easy to miss them. It's like they're like these hidden diamonds in the scripture.
And also then understand how God wants to use us now in those kind of ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So Miriam and the Midwives.
Yeah. Well, before you're going to read to us, aren't you? So we don't have to read the whole chapter.
No.
We're going to look at Exodus 1, and we're going to read from verse 15. So if you have your Bible, open it. But as Rachel always says, if you're running, you can listen to it. Or
driving.
If you're driving.
Ironing.
Yeah. So there you go. Open your Bible. And the context here, I'm sure, is very familiar, is that the Israelites are enslaved to the Egyptians under Pharaoh. But what's interesting is we get to this part in Exodus, they are gaining more power. It says the more they are oppressed, the more they multiply, which is interesting. It's probably another whole podcast in itself, but that sort of upside downness of the kingdom. And so they're becoming more and more powerful, and obviously Pharaoh's getting super twitchy about it. So here we read.
Do you know what we found as well is when we we dig into some of these, particularly the Old Testament, we come across names that we don't know how to pronounce. So we have primed ready on YouTube how to pronounce the names of the midwives. So here we go. This is it's jazzy music. This is YouTube.
We are looking at how to
that's
pronounce
quite
these
deep, isn't
two
it?
biblical names. We'll be looking at how to say more names from the Bible as well.
Oh, my
Stay
goodness.
tuned to learn more of those two midwives.
I like this man. Very deep.
Shifra.
Shifra. Okay.
Shifra. Because
Shifra.
in Hebrew it's said as Shifra, not Shipra. Shifra.
Shifra.
And Pua.
Pua.
Shifra and Pua. Now,
Shifra.
like this
and
video
Pua.
if you found it useful.
Oh, like this video. Oh, thank you. That's been extremely helpful. He's got the deepest voice in the world. Shifra and Pua. There we go.
Very good.
You heard it here first from the professional man in YouTube. So I'm going to read from Exodus 1. Sorry, that voice is just giving me the giggles. She's so surprisingly deep. Surprisingly deep.
Shifra.
Shifra and Pua.
Yes.
Okay. Gosh, the gravel tones. Exodus 1, verse 15. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shifra and Pua, when you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, just a side note, the delivery stool sounds utterly terrifying, doesn't it? Gosh, anyone who's experienced childbirth, I cannot even imagine trying to deliver on a stool. Wow.
I just keep bashing my nose.
On the microphone. Woo, that's sort of giving me the shivers, actually. Yeah. Delivery stool. If you see that the baby is a boy, kill him. But if it's a girl, let her live. The midwives, however, feared God, key, and did not did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. They let the boys live. Then the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, "Why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live?" The midwives answered Pharaoh, "Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous apparently lively is another translation, lively, and they give birth before the midwives arrive. So God was kind to the midwives. I love that.
Yeah.
God was kind to the midwives, and the people increased and became even more numerous. And because the midwives had feared God, he gave them families of their own. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all the people: every Hebrew boy that is born must be thrown into the Nile. Let every girl live. It's a bit dark, it has to be said. And obviously, we're not going to go into this, but it would be remiss not to mention that it echoes of King Herod, obviously at the time of Jesus' birth, who also ordered for the baby boys to be killed out of his fear of this new Messiah, this new king that he'd heard reported about from the Magi. And so, I mean, there's an obvious parallel there. We're not going to dive too much into that. But this, I think what we can conclude is that this is a key point in the story of God, much the same, obviously, that Jesus' birth is a pinnacle moment in the story of God. Yeah. What we can also assume is that this is the arrival of Moses. Moses is not the Messiah. He's not God in human flesh, but he's clearly God's man. He's been set aside, set apart for a very specific task, for a very specific moment in the story of God. And and what's interesting is at those two key moments, we see this satanic, this demonic plan that's played out through human hands, obviously at the time of Jesus' birth, through Herod, now through through Pharaoh, to eliminate the baby boys. We're going to say a little bit more about that specifically, but it's just almost like a take note moment, isn't it? This is a key point in history. The arrival of Moses is about to happen, and
it'll bleed even more into talking about Miriam next time.
Exactly.
So stay tuned.
Exactly, the significance of that.
But should we just recognise the midwives before we... Yeah. If you are a midwife listening to this, we honour you.
We honour you, midwives.
We have 4 children. You have 5, but we have 4 children.
4 by birth.
4 by birth.
Well,
Rachel was mocking.
Technically, I've had given birth 4 times. Amy's only given birth 3 times because she had twins.
I rebuked her heavily because twins is still 2 labours.
Well, not really.
It really is.
Because it's like the same amount of contractions.
Twin mums will...
Twin mums.
Yes.
Whatever, I salute you. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, fair enough.
But anyway... It's a big job.
It is
a huge job.
Yeah.
And so, just wanted to use
I had an amazing midwife called Rhiannon who, again, loved the NHS, but often with the NHS, you get different, you get a different midwife each time. Amazingly, I had the same midwife, this wonderful, wonderful woman called Rhiannon, for my last 3 births. And we became good friends. And actually on what was annoying though, is she did all my sort of antenatal, is it antenatal? The stuff before. Yeah. She did all my antenatal stuff and never delivered my number 2 and my number 3. And so when number 4 came along, I was like determined for her to actually deliver the baby. Yeah, because I think like the first time she was on holiday, second time my lowest, number 3, came early, so she wasn't around, she was on shift. And so by Judah, I was like, right, I really would love Rhiannon. Now she was quite keen too. Anyway, so anyone who knows what a sweep is, I'm sorry, that will have made your eyes water. So I went for a major sweep on the day of his due date because I was like, I want to have this baby out.
A major sweep,
like not just like a nice little sweep of the kitchen, like a deep clean. Again, sorry if you don't need to know what that is. It's quite something, eye-watering. And I went into labour that day, and she was on duty until 6 p.m. and then she had to go because she was doing this other class. She had this class to attend to. And so she was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to deliver this baby because it's unlikely that you'll be able to have this baby by 6 p.m. Yeah. And because I'm like slightly competitive, and it was my 4th child, I'm like, I'm going to have this baby. And so I spent the day marching around Richmond Park, anyone in Southwest London, bouncing on my bouncy ball.
Rihanna.
So that Rhiannon would do it. And then it was like 4 p.m. I was like, I'm good to go. Got to the hospital and she was like, oh, hello. And I said, let's do this. And guess what? Baby Judah was born at about 5:30 p.m.
That's brilliant.
And then off she went at 6 p.m. to do her class.
Well, she made an impact on you.
She did. I'm sorry for all those women listening who have not given birth. I'm sorry if that was slightly alienating, but it was
yes,
little birth story. We'll move on now so that you don't have to sit in that zone for any longer.
Yes, but there is lots to draw out.
Although you did have your baby very quickly.
Yeah,
didn't
I was
you?
thinking as we were reading that I can.
You're like
I can.
You're like the Hebrew women that pop them out.
Resonate with the I nearly had mine in the car because it was very speedy. But yes, lots to draw out from this.
Lots to draw out.
We talk about courage a lot. So whenever every woman, to be honest, that we have spoken about has had exceptional courage. And this is gone.
No, I was just saying, in a sense, almost the very fact that they get featured in the Word of God, especially in the Old Testament, and the New, almost courage is like a prerequisite, isn't it? Because it's such a patriarchal society. Women's place in society is so low and so marginal that the very fact that they're named, mentioned, it's almost courage is it's like a foregone conclusion, I guess.
And it says in the passage, doesn't it, that they fear God.
Yeah.
And so even just before we begin, let's recognise that they are standing up to and effectively lying, which we're going to go into, to Pharaoh. And we were saying, what is that the equivalent of? And it's probably like the equivalent of standing in front of Hitler, who has given you a demand. I mean, this guy is killing people left, right and centre, wouldn't care to kill somebody straight away. You know, like this is a terrifyingly powerful man that they are standing up against.
Yeah, this isn't like standing in front of your head teacher.
No, and so goodness me, the level of courage and God-fearing is exceptional, and we need to recognise it.
And they had no status. You know, they were women, again, in a highly patriarchal social system, political, you name it. And so not only are they standing in front of like the most powerful and dangerous man in the world, but they have nothing to back them. No, humanly speaking, nothing to protect them except for their fear in the Lord. Fear in God. Which is
and I
pretty
love that.
amazing.
I mean, we could maybe park here for a minute, but because what then? Because we talk about fearing God, and obviously it's an awe of God. It's a fearing, you know what I mean? Not fearing like being scared of, but an awe of God being the master over my life, effectively. So how do you get to that point? How do you become a God-fearing person?
Yeah, that's good.
Is it knowing that this is just not the end? As in, this life is not the end. I'm going to fear God, who I'm going to be with forever, and his ways. It's a surrender. It's a posture of surrender, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that it's so easy, certainly I speak for myself, to fear man over, or fearing, not
human beings.
Yeah, humans, or not get, or powerful
earthly
people.
power.
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, we want to be like these midwives. How do we fear God over man?
And I guess, what does that look like in each of our contexts, doesn't it? That we...
Human, I mean.
Yeah, because if we... And I love that fearing God isn't sort of this, I'm scared of you. It's like a recognition of his power.
Who he is, exactly.
Yeah, a recognition of his authority. Actually, I love that song. There's a Brooke Ligertwood song on her current album about the authority, and I was prayer walking the other morning, singing that out. I can't remember how it goes. Do you know that one?
I've heard you sing it before.
Oh, something about his... Is it authority? It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a good song. Anyway, can't think what but just again, like speaking out that it's his authority.
Yeah.
It's his authority that matters above all other authorities. That doesn't mean that we go out and break the law, or
totally.
You know what I mean? Although it's worth mentioning that obviously for many Christians around the world, to follow Jesus is to break the law, is to go against the political governmental systems and structures.
Christianity isn't legal in your country, then you are illegal by worship. And
that takes, again, huge amounts of courage. And so I suppose then in a country where it is legal and really... maybe even in light of the persecuted church, actually, maybe we all need to do a bit of an inventory of like, where am I allowing human authority to keep me fearful, keep me contained, keep me silent about who Jesus is.
And this is an act of, they stand up, don't they, to injustice.
Yeah.
So it's not even, it's like, where do we not stand up?
It's good.
To the injustice that we see in our workplace or around us, because actually that's not God's way.
Yeah.
Because we're fearing ultimately punishment, or we're fearing not gaining the approval of others, or whatever it is. I think it's really good to have to reflect upon that.
And I think we are entering to, or we are living through times where I think it's going to become increasingly hard to stand on the word of God, to say, Jesus is my rock, to profess to being a Christian.
Yeah.
I mean, I pray for a revival, and I feel like that's the only hope, is God to move in power, to awaken the church, to call us to a more radical discipleship. Because I think we are going to be living through times where we're going to need to be God-fearing. We're going to need to say, I stand on the authority of God. I stand on authority of God's word more than I do on whatever culture might say is right or wrong.
Yeah.
And that's kind of scary. It's going to require serious amounts of courage. We're not just going to be going with the flow. Yeah. In some things, we're going to be going against the flow, and that's going to take courage.
And I guess part of it is to gain the courage. Then is to be. The only way is to have hope. For,
that's good.
A hope that this isn't the end. I think that's the only way. To be able to take on that courage.
Yeah. And maybe it is to say no to certain things. I can think of a friend of mine who was really, really high up in recruitment, worked from a top recruitment firm in London, was doing exceptionally well. And I remember her saying that part of the job is lying, and it's interesting, we're going to talk about that a bit later almost in a different context, but lying for, and we're going to talk about motives, but lying for the wrong motive, lying basically to make more money and to climb the career ladder. And she said, I made a decision to not lie, to operate in a different spirit. And what was remarkable, a bit like the Midwives, is that she just grew in her career. It wasn't a hindrance, and yet humanly speaking, it should have actually been a real hindrance to her being able to get on in her career, because it was just so intrinsic to the nature of the job. But she was like, no, I'm not going to come under that. I'm going to choose to fear God in this, and I'm not going to lie. And so maybe for each of us, it's like thinking about in our context, in our lives, where do we say, no, I'm not going to do that.
I'm going to trust God to raise me up.
Absolutely.
Not push forward.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's loads more to say on that, probably.
I mean, I think what's interesting, again, thinking about the whole Pharaoh and then and Herod, those two comparisons, that what we see is Pharaoh is operating out of a fear mindset. So everything that he does, he's so afraid of losing his power, isn't he? And so he's insecure. This man that has all earthly power, he has everything, all the resources at his fingertips. He's still in fear. And I think, again, it speaks into that lie that you can have everything that the world would afford us, power, money, influence, whatever it might be, and yet you can still operate in a fear mindset, almost in a scarcity mindset.
It's
like, I need more, I need more, I need more.
Yeah. Like gripping and control and holding tightly, and
absolutely.
All of that is fear, isn't it?
And the midwives are operating in a faith mindset. It's like, no, actually they've got nothing, really. Yeah. And yet they operate out of faith. And I think for me personally, that's something that I have to ask myself all the time. Am I making this decision out of a fear mindset or out of a faith mindset? Am I making this call? Am I choosing this course of action out of a scarcity mindset or out of a mindset that says, no, God has all the resources and he loves me and ultimately I'm going to be okay. Even if I have to journey through, weather some storms here on Earth, ultimately everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
Oh, thank you.
Well done. But also, moving along, one of the things I think that stands out to me is they stand together.
Yes.
And we've actually, even as I've been reading, there are so many times where it says they stood up or they stand up or they stand.
Yes.
And it's so, I love that because it's like we're taking a stand, like we've talked about with Hannah before. She stood up.
Yeah, it's that Hebrew idiom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is to take a stand.
Yeah,
to put your
sort
foot
of,
down.
no, I'm not going to be pushed to one side.
Oh, I love that.
Anyway, and I just love that it's standing together as this sort of female bond. And obviously we love doing this together. And that's been part of it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
To sort of be side by side in ministry. I love that. But it just made me think that the enemy, we've got daughters, and how the enemy from the earliest moments, even nursery, girls are so unkind to each other, aren't they?
Yeah.
Can be, yes. And I was just thinking actually how powerful it is when women are side by side and they're cheering one another on and they're standing in the gap together.
They're knitting for one another.
And I just think it's a moment to be aware of when we are essentially sort of partnering with the enemy, or a sort of bending into his ways when we want to rip other people down, or we want to compare or be jealous, or
go
whatever
it alone,
it is,
even,
or go it alone. But actually, there's this power in standing together in this particular story that is worth recognizing.
Well, I think, again, we underestimate it, don't we? It's like, oh, it's so nice to do this together. Oh, how nice, how lovely. But I think early on we recognized standing together as we are doing with the Orchard, it's more than just, oh, this is really nice. And it is really nice.
Yeah.
But
it feels prophetic.
It does. There's a power. It feels like there's a power behind it, that it's way beyond our humanity.
Yeah.
And I think,
because you're really annoying.
Yeah, I am. I am really annoying.
I'm obviously joking.
Gosh, that's so unusual for you to say that. It's
a little gag. It's a little gag.
So naughty.
Oh, you're not.
I think, exactly that. It's key. Let's not gloss over the fact they stand together. And I think even recognizing the bond between women that we have been designed. I know we've talked a little bit about sort of male-female difference, the Genesis mandate that we have been created different but equal.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that with men and women, there's a lot of overlap. I'm a little allergic to gender stereotyping because I think within what it means to be feminine, there's a really broad spectrum. In the same way, in what it means to be masculine, there's a broad spectrum. And I'm nervous about any stereotypes that like to sort of box women into a container that just feels too small.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, I think we have to recognize there's great overlap between men and women, our strength, our gifting. But I also think it's important, particularly perhaps in this day and age, to recognize that there is difference.
Yeah.
That we weren't just created as one human being. We were created distinct, male and female. And that within that, there will be some difference. We see it physically, so therefore there must be some other differences. Yeah. The key is that those differences don't make us unequal. The key is that doesn't make one sort of more important than the other, but we see them and we recognize them as really important, equally important. And I wonder if, having sort of prefaced this statement with all of that, that one of the things that's distinct potentially is our capacity to bond as women.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sisters, so we have that bond, but our husbands are quite hilarious about our relationship because we spend a lot of time together. We love each other deeply, and they kind of joke that we'd probably be all right, wouldn't we? the two of us with our little knitted scarves together. No, we love our husbands and we need them desperately.
Absolutely.
But
They get a bit jealous.
They get a bit jealous. Don't worry, it's nothing to worry in a kind of a funny way. But I wonder if one of the gifts that we have as women is our capacity to bond.
Totally.
And of course, wherever there's a gift, a heavenly gift, you can be absolutely sure that the enemy will try and rob it, kill it, destroy it.
Yeah.
Do you know, I was just laughing about my daughter is sitting her GCSE mocks at the moment, and I didn't do very well at my GCSEs. And I was laughing the other day with someone because I was recalling my science GCSE was particularly poor, mostly because I fancied this boy in my science class called
Always
Anthony.
Yes.
And I was so distracted by Anthony.
Anthony?
Do you remember Anthony?
Yeah.
That I couldn't, I just didn't really learn anything. Anyway, I'm not going to go into any more, but I vividly remember there was a question about penguins in my science exam. And one of the questions was, why do penguins huddle together? And you had to sort of give 3 answers. I think I could only think of 2. The first one was to stay warm.
Yeah.
That was right.
Yeah.
The other answer I gave is so that they could get to know so that they could get to know each other and wouldn't fight and fall out. Apparently that wasn't the right answer.
That's so sweet.
I know, but
Was it just
I certainly didn't take science A-level. But I actually think we are supposed to do that. I know.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
I love that.
Anyway, there we go.
It's interesting also that Pharaoh completely underestimates the fact that, they're Hebrew midwives.
Yeah.
He's like saying, Hebrew midwives, go and kill your people, effectively. Yeah. So even the arrogance, for one, well, clearly he's powerful and thinks that everyone's afraid of him. And he underestimates that they actually fear God over him. But that is interesting to me anyway, that he would think that they would go against their own people. And maybe that's also this instinct that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That actually there's something within us that can't.
As women.
Yeah.
That actually, maybe, again, I'm not making any sort of sweeping statements or generalizations.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not being anti-men in this. But again, just recognizing that perhaps one of our superpowers as women is the desire to nurture. Again, not making any gender stereotypes. There are plenty of very nurturing men. So I'm not saying that. But I wonder if in our uniqueness, there is a predisposition towards nurturing. And look at biology. We're designed to carry the babies. In order to carry babies and to raise babies, you need to be highly nurturing. And we're talking about babies in this situation. And I wonder if, again, this powerful man underestimates that powerful nurturing instinct that is inherent within most women that would drive them to risk their own lives to save these babies.
It's also really interesting, as you were speaking, that I wonder also whether what he underestimates is that you never know. There might have been prestige out of this. There might have been, you never know, like what might he have given them for their service or what might he have paid them for their service. And again, it's like, no, they
refuse it.
It's just, I'm not hungry for that. I'm not going to disobey God for that. I don't know. I'm just speculating, but it's interesting.
Yeah, they probably would have got his protection.
Something,
which would have counted for a huge amount.
Yeah.
And don't forget, they're living in slave conditions.
Yeah.
So you're right. They reject potentially the opportunity to move beyond those slave conditions. Gosh, that's amazing.
Yeah. And even so, then the idea of fearing God over
comfort, safety,
and health and wealth and all of it is probably the way to get fearing God. Is laying all that down, I guess.
Wow.
Anyway.
That's amazing. Okay, so we've firmly established that they are courageous. But what we also see is that they demonstrate for us the upside down nature of the kingdom of God. Go on, Amesy.
Well, it's just so interesting to me that as we said, he's operating out of fear. Pharaoh is operating out of fear, and he's like, I need to, squash all power, which is effectively killing all the boys, right?
Yeah, he equates power with the men.
Yeah, because it's like, well, I need to kill them so they don't gain any more power in my kingdom. But what's so interesting is as we're reading this is that he's killing the boys, yet God's using the women to actually be powerful in his kingdom, to extend, not only stop a genocide, but as we read next week, release and protect Moses, who is God's chosen person to bring about freedom for his people. I mean, it's like, again, it's recognizing in this, not the people in it, but God's ways, and God's ways are upside down. He uses the unlikely, doesn't he? He uses the weak to shame the foolish things of the world to shame the wise. We're seeing this in Exodus already, that actually sometimes we think, we need to, even as women perhaps, we need to gain the powerful positions, and then we'll be able to make a mark in the kingdom. It's like, no, it's not like that. He wants our obedience, our God-fearing obedience, and devotion to him only. That is all the qualification needed. And then he will work out his plans and his ways. It's just upside down. I think it's worth noting.
Exactly. And the thing that most demonstrates the upside down nature of the kingdom of God is this issue of power.
Yeah, exactly.
That we have such a warped understanding of power in an earthly sense. And actually, a lot of this comes out. I love the way Darrell Johnson, who writes brilliant biblical commentaries, he talks about like putting on your spiritual glasses. In fact, I think I mentioned this in one of the talks that we did in the conference. This idea that when you look at things in 3D, it means sort of seeing things through spiritual eyes and recognizing that the power structures at play, humanly speaking, on the earth are so different to the way that power operates in the kingdom. And it's, as you said, it's upside down. And I guess the epitome of that is that sitting on the throne is the slain lamb. We have this image of Jesus as the lion and the lamb, the ferocious lion. Yes, but the one who's ruling is the slain lamb. My friend Nick Drake has this phrase, the king who wins by losing. And I think for us as human beings, and I think this plays into us as women, which I'll touch on in a minute, it's so easy to buy into this sort of paradigm, this narrative that to get on, you have to gain power, earthly power, more influence, more power. And the
platform, position, and it's like, not necessarily.
That's not how you win.
Exactly.
That's how we think we're going to win. And yet the kingdom of God is like, no. The first shall be last. Humble yourself, And I think what's interesting for me, thinking about that through the context of women, again, touched on this at the conference a couple of years ago, is this idea that militant feminism, and I'm not anti-feminist at all. If anything, there's a lot about feminism that I love and that I think is righting a wrong and that is about injustice. But I think this sort of strand of feminism that's very militant is all about getting the power back. Like, I loved the Barbie movie, absolutely loved it, thought it was hilarious. But those last 5 minutes,
it wasn't
for me,
kingdom.
No, was so sad. It was like, no. The answer isn't let's subject the men and elevate the women. There is a balance to rewrite for sure, but the blueprint, the kingdom blueprint, is working in equal partnership. That's the kingdom. And to do that, we don't try and grasp power. We work from upside down. That doesn't mean that we don't stand up against injustice. I think it's really important. It's not like we become doormats. We don't just sort of lie down in the face of injustice. Of course.
Well, this is what we're reading right now.
Exactly. They do it, but they do it from underneath.
They do it from underneath.
They do it from underneath.
And it's God-fearing. It's about God, not them.
Not them. Exactly.
And I think, I don't know. I just think it's worth speaking even to those people listening maybe who feel in a sort of earthly sense, not in a powerful position,
underneath kind
or
of thing,
underneath, or an unlikely person. I just feel to speak to you or for myself, that actually it's not about that. He's looking for our obedience, and he's looking for our God-fearing heart.
Yeah.
And actually he can move mountains wherever you are with that posture, because it's not about what we see necessarily with our human eyes, but actually as we step out in obedience, as we obey him, as we fear him above anyone else, things are moving. The story is continuing. I mean, these women probably don't know the end of the story.
No, that's right.
They have no idea, probably.
Well, they probably think there's a really good chance we're going to get killed.
Yeah.
That's the reality, isn't it? They'd
probably,
be very naive not to think that the story ends with their heads on the block, quite honestly.
Yeah.
But God has other ways and other plans. But that's interesting, isn't it? Their obedience, again, we've talked about this so much, but their obedience is not conditional on knowing the end of the story.
Yeah, exactly.
And that for me is the one of the biggest discipleship learnings is my obedience is conditional on Jesus is the Savior.
Yeah.
There is an eternal destiny that is mine because of him.
Yeah.
And that's why I walk in obedience, not because he's going to make everything nice and shiny and in order this side of heaven.
Yeah.
And that's important, isn't it? So the minute we can enter into that place, well then anything's possible.
Yeah.
Anything's possible.
I was thinking about this for my own life. I felt like the Lord showed me what it means to be full in Jesus only. And I felt like, sort of nudge of the Spirit, sort of saying, I don't want you to be fat or famished, but fat on the praise of man. Or even if you look at these midwives, even that sort of gaining fat on the approval of power or the approval of what people think, or even gaining prestige or whatever, but also not famished on the criticism or the lack of,
like starving.
Yeah. And so then actually, if you're full in Christ, you can actually then continue to be or step into obedience, because the fullness is already now. There's nothing else to gain. I am full. My cup overflows in him only. I'm not fat or famished. I'm full always. And so I think that's a good posture to be obedient, no matter what.
That's so good.
I mean, it's hard to step into.
But not fat or famished. Love that. And so last thing that we wanted to draw out is this whole little thing around the lie, because they lied. Oh my goodness. But I mean, in a sense, it's kind of a funny lie, because
funny.
it's so ridiculous. What it exposes is Pharaoh's complete ignorance about how birth works, which I think is quite amusing that they would know that. Again, patriarchal society, men had very, very little to do with childbirth whatsoever. And they play on that. Yeah. They play on the fact that he's like, oh gosh, I don't want to hear about this. They know that most men would be, it would probably be disrespectful even to talk about those kinds of things. I don't know. And so they use that. You can imagine all the women are slightly sort of giggling under their breath, like, oh yeah, these babies, they just fly out. They absolutely fly out. We don't even have time to work out what gender they are. And so it's like, okay, funny. I've heard enough, fine, whatever. But they do lie.
Yeah.
And so we were sort of trying to figure that. And also we were reflecting on the fact that in series 3, we look at Abigail. Yep. Amazing. Abigail. And Abigail lies, again, in fulfilling the purposes of God.
Yeah.
And that led us to think about kind of motives. Again, hear us wrong. What we're not saying is, as long as you lie with a good motive, it's okay. I don't think that's right. But I think the main takeaway for us is that God looks at the heart.
Yeah.
And actually, I read this thing. I was telling Ainsley, I read this thing, brilliant book over Christmas called, oh my goodness, what's it called? It's by Philip Yancey. It's not What's So Amazing About Grace. I have read that. That's awesome. It's called, I can't actually remember the name. It's not, it'll come back to me. But anyway, in it, there's a chapter called God Loves Adverbs. And any grammar geeks will be straight there. But essentially, if you're not brushed up on your grammar, essentially an adverb describes a verb. And a verb is a doing word, like to run or to serve or to cook or to speak, whatever. And an adverb describes the verb. So Amy served resentfully.
You gave me back.
Or Amy served passive aggressively. Actually, that is not you at all. Or Amy served faithfully. Amy served compassionately.
Yeah.
And I love that little, in fact, I think in the book, Philip Yancey talks about the fact that it was the Benedictine monks, I think, that came up with that phrase. I think that's credit. I hope I'm crediting that right. But this idea that God cares about our motives, that he cares way less about the verb,
that's good.
what we do. He cares so much more about how we do it. So in a sense, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter what we do because we've all been put on earth to do different things. I'm not saying that, but more than that, God cares about how we do something.
And that's the fruit of the Spirit. That's
the
interesting.
fruit. All the fruit of the Spirit, I think, are adverbs. Faithfully, patiently, goodly. Anyway, it kind of works. Yeah. Just about lovingly, joyfully, peacefully. Oh,
I love that because
because
also, you read about, cleaning up the outside of the cup and all of that stuff. And it's easy to sort of be doing the right thing and you're a disaster, there's
absolutely
there's deceit inside, so again, we just have to, that God knows, right? He knows the motive. He knows the bigger picture. He knows what's going on here.
And in a sense, the sort of the doesn't matter what you do sentiment, it's like you could be, and again, for those that feel like they're not doing anything particularly important, in the world's eyes, just do it with the best motives. Like if you're serving coffee somewhere, if you're cleaning crap up off the floor,
so
or
good.
Again, tasks or jobs that wouldn't be considered particularly important in the world's view, if you do those,
it pleases the Lord.
With godly adverbs, he loves it. Equally, engaging in activity that seems terribly worthy and terribly holy and terribly important, if you're doing those with yucky motives, it's not good.
I think that's a really good word.
And so that's what we've taken out of this little moment where the midwives essentially, they kind of tell a little porky pie about the way that, but they're doing it faithfully. They're doing it God-fearingly. Oh, somebody's phoning you. Oh, it's Tanya Wilson.
Hey, youth.
She's youth. She heads up our youth stream. What does she? Why don't we answer the phone and see what
you answer it?
Shall I answer it?
So you're live on a thing. She'll love it.
Tanya Wilson, you are live on the podcast. I'm not joking. No,
That's
it's
so
not. It's
funny.
Amy didn't put her phone on silent. There we go. There's a lesson there. So,
Shout, what
you could say
about
hello.
the
Can you
youth?
say hello?
Oh, she can't hear.
Yeah, I don't know whether we're going to be able to hear you. Let me quickly put you on speakerphone. This is terribly exciting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, now you can say hello.
Hi. Oh my gosh, I feel awful.
Don't feel
so
awful.
funny.
An interruption from Tanya Wilson is never a bad thing. Anyway, I'm going to go. She'll call you back.
Book your
Bye.
ticket for October. Any youths, tell the youths
Yes,
to come
youth
along.
stream. What an amazing time we
Tanya,
had.
who has just called me, she heads it up for those that have no idea.
It was awesome.
Yeah. I think that's probably...
I think we have covered all the bases.
Yeah.
It's a new year, a new series, new adventures.
What have you taken from it? What are you going to go away with?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's the God-fearing thing for me. And I think that's a thing that we see all the way through. My goodness, what does it mean for me in Birmingham in 2024 to live my life in a posture that fears the Lord, that fears his opinion, that is just constantly recognizing his authority in my life over any other earthly authority that might come to distract. What about you?
Yeah, that's good. I also think the whatever you do, what we were just talking about a minute ago, whatever you do, the integrity is living under God's eyes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And actually, whatever you do with a willing heart that wants to serve him. And so I think that's really good. It's a really good word, because whatever you do, doesn't matter. He sees the heart always. So
I've remembered the book title, Rumours of Another World.
Yes,
there you go.
so-
Rumours of Another World, Philip Yancey, I recommend. Well, thanks for joining us for the first episode of Series 4. We're very excited to be back behind the microphones.
Maybe a warmer station next time.
Hopefully a little bit warmer. It will get warmer as we go through the year, and have a great rest of the month. And we will see you soon. See you.